Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Today, our guest is the one and only John Feinstein, prolific author, writer for the Washington Post and many other publications, sports commentator, television host, radio host, and as I found out today, play-by-play for college basketball and I guess other sports. A guy that's done everything when it comes to sports, writing, even journalism. The one and only John Feinstein joins us today, a guy who's written more books than Defo and I have probably read combined. Feinstein comes on today to talk with us about really everything going on in sports. Definitely touches on the Brian Flores, Stephen Ross issue as he's been front center when it comes to the Washington, then Redskins, then football team, now Commanders and their issues. He touches on his take from Brian Flores to Stephen Ross. And does he think anything's going to change when it comes to the Miami Dolphins and the NFL at large? Plus, we talk about what's going on with the rest of the NFL. Touch on a little bit of golf. Again, he's John Feinstein. And he is writing a book on David Faherty, the really interesting, entertaining golf commentator. So we touch on that a little bit. We talk about everything with one and only John Feinstein right here on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
The Defo Show, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and a pleasure to welcome this gentleman. His name keeps popping up every time we think of what's hot in terms of topical sporting material, which you know is our bag here on the Defo Show. We're thinking, who can we turn to? John Feinstein, always the best, very eloquent. And, I'm sorry, I sort of spoke slightly disparagingly about you, John, earlier. And welcome to the show. How are you, by the way? I hear you're in town here in West Palm Beach.
I actually just lost him, so let me try and get him back, and then we will have the one and only John
brilliant
Feinstein.
Opening there.
Yeah,
okay, we'll have John Feinstein here in just a second as Lubie does a little Fran Tarkenton-like scrambling here on the show. But, everything that we were talking about on the program and has been pretty much the featured stream, if you will, in terms of consciousness on the sporting front. The Brian Flores thing, very explosive, and that continues just to expand as it was just a couple of nights ago on Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. Gumbel making all the faces, and, he couldn't shake Brian Flores off of his position that, I was victimized by racism. I'm sick of it. I don't care what I sacrifice. I'm going to go ahead and continue to proliferate, the whole idea that this is bad, it's wrong, and it needs to change. And I want to see something substantive, something of some substance being done about it. All right. We do have John Feinstein with us on the program. And, John, welcome to the show. What are you doing in town? You're working on something with David Faherty. Is that correct?
That is correct, Jeff. Good to talk to you guys. I am starting research on a biography of David. So
nice.
I've spent most of the last 3 days with him. He hasn't jumped out a window yet, so that's a good sign. I'm optimistic.
Why didn't you just do a book about Joe Walsh or something if you wanted to go with guys that, sometimes have behavior that you're thinking, I don't know, how anxious I am to join in on this. All right, well
this guy has a pretty interesting life.
Yeah. No, and I agree. Great entertainer also as a golf announcer. And, I loved his show. Had a great interview show. I don't know if he's still doing it. But
no, he's not. When Golf Channel, slashed their budget to almost nothing, his show was a victim because it was by far the best show on their air, but it also cost money. And Golf Channel doesn't spend money anymore. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate for the viewers because you're right, it was a great show.
Is there no money in golf? I mean, they couldn't sign on with the Saudis and maybe get Phil Mickelson?
Well, that may be their next play. Who knows? But, what happened was the PGA Tour held them up, basically, to get their rights renewed. And Golf Channel desperately needs the PGA Tour, obviously, on their air. So they vastly overpaid for it. And in doing so, the rest of their budget just went to zero, basically.
We were thinking this, and as we said, and I'm glad Lubie was able to get you on the program here today, because everything that came up, we were thinking, who would be the best guy to go to on this? It'd be John Feinstein. And then we were thinking, geez, the happiest guy in the world that Brian Flores came out with that lawsuit 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, or the week leading up to the Super Bowl, was Dan Snyder. Because when all the attention turned to
people,
yeah, I mean, when everything turned to Flores and what he was saying about racism, which naturally, was the sexy, I guess, thing to run in the headlines. Even though we thought the big story there was Stephen Ross possibly paying a new incoming minority coach, offering him money to go ahead and deliberately lose games, which it's I guess attempted sports bribery, a pretty heavy. Assertion, and yet Snyder got his story buried. So let's start with Flores, because you had the brilliant piece, raise a fist, take a knee, and that was, I guess, until this Faraday enterprise or project, your latest offering, and it ties in so much so that these conditions persist, and in all likelihood will into the distant future.
Yeah, you're right. A number of people, the day the Flores lawsuit was, even the day Flores got fired, but said to me, this is what your book was about. The fact that not only is it harder to get hired as a black coach, not just in the NFL, but pretty much across the board, it's harder to keep your job. I think you remember when I was on talking about the book with you, I mentioned Lovie Smith, who got fired in Chicago after going to a Super Bowl and following a 10-6 season. And Jim Caldwell had the best record in Detroit, 4-year record since Buddy Parker in the 50s. And the list goes on, and now Brian Flores is on that list. And, I think the Bill Belichick text when he thought he was texting Brian Daboll, another of his former assistants, I think, what apparently went on with Stephen Ross, or what Flores said went on with Stephen Ross, all of that led to him, frankly, getting pissed off and filing the lawsuit. And it does, in many ways, crystallize all the things that I wrote about in Raise a Fist, Take a Knee. And you're right. This is an ongoing issue, not just with Brian Flores. It's just an ongoing issue in sports and in our world.
Very unfortunate, yeah. And don't hit send. I mean, that's always the thing when you said the Belichick text going to the wrong guy. Because at one time, I think I told my boss I love him, and I told my girlfriend at the time to go F herself. I
had something like that actually happen to me years and years ago, because Tom Watson and I have run a charity golf tournament to raise money for ALS research in the name of Bruce Edwards, his former caddy and best friend who died of ALS. And one of the auction items we had was a day with John Feinstein at a Ravens game, because I did a book on the Ravens years ago, and so I had connections there. And it was, you go to the game and you get parking, and you sit in the press box, you go on the sideline before the game, you're in the tunnel when the team's introduced. And long story short, the woman who won the bid for a pretty good amount of money, surprisingly, kept making extra requests. Can I do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? And I sent an email to Kevin Byrne, who was then the Ravens PR guy. I said, Kevin, I don't know what to tell you, but this woman just won't stop. She keeps asking for more. I really apologize. I'm tempted to give her the money back at this point. And then I sent her the email.
Oh, no.
Yeah, holy John Gruden. What did I do?
She was a very good sport about it. She said, you're right. I have been a pain in the butt.
Nice.
So I dodged that bullet that I deserved.
We're talking with John Feinstein. Take a fist. Raise a Fist, Take a Knee is his latest offering. He's working on a book about David Faraday, one of the most interesting people when it comes to covering sports. So really looking forward to that work when it's all said and done. Follow him up on Twitter at @JFeinsteinBooks, the tremendous author, writer, and sports commentator. John, so often when we talk about Snyder, the thing that you always love to point out, and it's true, is he skates. It feels like Brian Flores. He has. Now, the NFL has as well when it comes to minority hiring, but it feels like for the first time in a long time, they're up against someone that, first of all, has to have evidence. I don't care what the NFL keeps saying. Like, Brian Flores has literally torched his career. You're not doing that with nothing. And on top of that, again, a guy that's willing to torch his career to try and fight the good fight. Do you see anything changing from this? Do you see Brian Flores making any waves? Because the guy is not going away.
Well, I think Lovie Smith got the Texans job because of the Brian Flores lawsuit. If you remember, all the rumors were that the Texans wanted to hire Josh McCown, whose entire coaching experience had been being an assistant high school coach, and yet they wanted to hire him. And then all of a sudden the lawsuit happens, and boom, Lovie Smith, who'd been the defensive coordinator, gets the job. So in that sense, I think it already had a positive effect. But obviously there needs to be a lot more. I think Flores is going to go down the way Colin Kaepernick is going to go down, as someone who stood up, got knocked down professionally because he stood up, although in Kaepernick's case he didn't stand up, he took a knee, and who forced change, gradual change, but made people, in Kaepernick's case, more aware of police behavior, and and I think Flores, even though the issue's been there for years and years and years, will go down as someone who made people more aware of the hypocrisy of NFL owners. Because I think now finally the focus is on owners. It's like when Flores got fired, and I wrote that this was another example of a black coach having a shorter leash than white coaches do. A number of people wrote and tweeted at me and stuff and said, well, Chris Greer is black. Well, Chris Greer had as much to say about the firing as you and I did.
Yeah.
And then people, well, Flores didn't get along with Chris Greer. That's what happens. There's always a campaign to prove that there are legitimate reasons. You know, the Kaepernick thing, you guys remember in 2017, all the anonymous quotes from NFL executives saying he couldn't play anymore. Yeah. That's why he's not on the team, because he's not a good player. Well, he was a starter the year before in San Francisco. And all of a sudden, he forgot how to play football at the age of 29. And the NFL's really good at this.
Yep.
You know, because NFL media, most of whom are white, are very willing to accept, you know, backdoor sources say stories. I mean, that's ESPN's business, is sources say stories. And so it will take a while, but I do think this will have a long-term effect.
Two people, and every time I see them appear on any kind of video, Dave Campo and Chris Greer, it should be accompanied by the song "I'm Your Puppet," or at least so it appears. I mean, Campo, you could see the strings coming from the box there, the luxury suite that Jerry was sitting in. John Feinstein with us here on the show. It's always great having John on the program. Many things to get to later on, and one of the other reasons that, and your name popped up through this interview, we had a young lady on another platform, and she's going to join us later on today, named Megan Imbert, who is part of this suit, the sexual harassment and the mistreatment of women, misogynist nature of the now Commanders organization. And it was kind of explosive for me. I mean, I hadn't heard this before, but she was the production manager for the in-house video crew there. And she said that while she was excluded from these meetings, Dan Snyder personally was ordering underlings to go out and shoot these voyeurism, nude videos of the then Redskins cheerleaders, and then setting them to like Inagata DeVita, which happened to be his favorite song, which was, I mean, I hadn't heard that kind of direct testimony, or any kind of direct connection with Snyder. And as you've always been saying, he skates by. Does he skate on this? I guess would be the question. And to what extent do you believe what Megan Imbert is implying here?
Oh, is there a number higher than 100%? This was part of the original Washington Post story that Larry Michael, who was the play-by-play guy at the time, and who has since, quote, retired, unquote, put together these various videos for Snyder of the team's cheerleaders when they were on their annual, calendar shoot. And it was very voyeuristic, obviously. And I hadn't heard about the music specifically, but look, Snyder is just he's a dirtbag. Let's put it that way.
You could use any language you want here on this platform.
In so many different ways, and has been since day one. I mean, one of the first things he did when he became owner of the team was there was a woman who had worked in public relations as an assistant for something like 35 years for the team. I mean, dating back to Vince Lombardi. Wow. And she was, I don't know, 20 years older than he was. So she called him Dan, and he fired her because he hadn't called her Mr. Snyder.
Wow.
You know? And that's who this guy is. He's the classic Napoleonic bully. He honestly believes that having money makes you a better person than people who don't have money. And his wife is the same way. And, enough bad things professionally cannot happen to this guy as far as I'm concerned. But whether the NFL will ever have the guts to do something, that's a completely different question.
Of course, you're a Duke guy, and I would imagine, and a huge college basketball guy.
Duke. I'm a Krzyzewski guy.
Yes, and I wanted to have you just kind of touch on the final year coaching by Krzyzewski. I was watching some Duke basketball last night against Virginia, which, by the way, I mean, did they stop short of allowing Virginia to have foreign objects? I mean, how they suppress other teams' offenses is pretty incredible. But anyway, Duke prevails, and Coach K looks like he's on his way to being probably a number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, maybe even higher. How would you characterize? I mean, if you could do the short version of the book, Coach K's career and your relationship with him.
Well, the shortest version I can do is he's been an extraordinary coach for a long, long time. I mean, remember, he's coached 47 years, 45 at Army, 42 at Duke.
Wow.
And people always talk about, well, would Red Auerbach be a great coach today? Would John Wooden be a great coach today? Would Vince Lombardi be a great coach today? And I believe the great coaches are great coaches because they adapt, because times change, and especially in college basketball. I mean, when Mike first started coaching, there was no shot clock. There was no such thing as a one and done. The players stayed 4 years, and now we've got a 30-second clock. We've got one and done. We've got the 3-point shot, which didn't exist when he first coached, and it's become a dominant part of the sport. And he has adapted through the years. He's rebooted himself on a number of occasions. He went to his first Final Four in 1986. Okay, that's 36 years ago. And he has a team that has the ability to go to the Final Four this year. Now, they could also go out in the second round because nobody's great. And I think any team, 1 or 2 seed, could go down early. Any 1 or 2 seed or 8 seed could make the Final Four. But he's bounced back from last year when COVID had a huge effect on his team and on their season. They're 24-4 now. They beat a good Virginia team last night. Virginia's always good because Tony Bennett's a great coach. And as far as my relationship with him, I first met him when he was coaching at Army. Actually, I'm so old I saw him play for Bob Knight at Army when I was a kid. And I'll tell you this one story. I tell this story all the time because it's very simple way to sum up who Mike Krzyzewski is. My father died on Super Bowl Sunday in 2006, and the funeral was on Tuesday. And obviously, I got home Tuesday night after everything was over. I was drained and exhausted. And Duke was playing North Carolina that night, 9 o'clock game, of course. And I sat down to watch and fell sound asleep. Only time I slept through a Duke Carolina game. And I woke up with about a minute to go, and Duke ended up winning. Close game, of course. And when the game was over, I sat down at my computer because, I knew I wasn't going to sleep at that point. And 45 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was Krzyzewski. And he said, I just wanted to let you know that when I stepped into our last huddle with 30 seconds left, whatever it was, I looked up at the sky and I said, Martin, this one's for you.
Wow.
And I don't even know how he knew my dad's name was Martin. But the point was he was thinking about me, and he took the time to call, figuring I'd be awake after the game, because he wanted me to know that, he felt some of my pain. And his dad had died when he was in college. His mom died in 1996. So he'd been through it with both his parents. And that's who Mike is. And I've always said, when people say, give me 1 sentence on Mike Krzyzewski, I say he's a better person than he is a coach. He's a pretty damn good coach.
Beautiful story. John Feinstein with us here. Just a couple of more things, if you have a minute or so left with us. Always appreciate your time here on the show. And and an aside, because I know you're a huge college basketball fan. I finally booked a bucket list thing. I'm going out to Vegas for the first weekend starting Thursday of the NCAA tournament. Everybody says that's like the greatest place to view it, aside from maybe being at the game and sitting on a bench. But, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'm starting to, get into college basketball a little bit more. So I'll have at least some idea what the hell I'm doing when I'm throwing my money away. And do you think that when Iona takes the floor, if they make it to the tournament, that Rick Pitino will have a player introduced as being from parts unknown? Because where he got these guys and how he's doing is beyond me. I know he was over in Greece there, and down in baklava and sake or whatever they drink. But he, how he found this worldwide roster, and actually, you can never discount this guy.
Well, no. I mean, there are 2 points there. The first one is that Rick is a great basketball coach. He just is. It doesn't matter where he coaches. He got Iona to the tournament last year. It looks like they'll get to the tournament this year. And wherever he's been, 2 things have happened. He wins and the school gets in trouble. People at Maryland are talking about trying to hire him. And I've said 2 things. One, he'll be 70 next year. Wow. I'm not sure that's how you rebuild the program with anything.
Now, John, go easy on us here. Septuagenarian.
Yeah, no kidding. It's not like I'm that much younger than that. But no one is offering to hire me as a college basketball coach. Yep. But number 2, Rick comes with more baggage than a 747. He's gotten in trouble everywhere he's gone in one way, form or another. So that's who Rick is. And as far as the players, that's today's college game. Yeah. I mean, you look at rosters now. I mean, there are players from everywhere in the world. I'm doing a game on Saturday between UMBC and Maine. And literally my play-by-play guy said to me the other day, I don't know how I'm going to do the game because Maine doesn't have a single starter whose name I can pronounce. Because, it's not like a lot of basketball players come out of Maine.
Doc Emmerich is
they've had to do what Pitino's done, search the world for basketball players.
Yeah. No, pretty incredible. All right, well, we'll let you run, John. Been very generous with your time. Always great. And best of luck with Faraday. That sounds like it'll be a blast. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that you could have a bad time hanging out with David Faraday.
No, you really can't. I mean, David is always entertaining and he's so smart and so funny, and his life story is remarkable. So I don't know if I'll write a good book because that's on me, but I know I'll have plenty of material.
I'm a big fan of interview shows, as you might imagine. That was a great interview show. Yep. The Faraday Golf show.
It was a great show. It was so well. He got Bill Clinton on the show. He got George W. Bush on the show. He got every golfer who ever mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he got everybody and did a hell of a job when he got them.
No, it was a lot of fun. All right, John, thanks so much.
Really quickly. I'll tell you this really quickly.
Okay.
His oldest son died of a drug overdose in 2017. He said the first phone call he got was from Bill Clinton.
Wow.
Which says a lot of things about both of them.
That's impressive.
Yeah, very. What he did as a member of the media, I guess, that sort of path was started by Gary McCord, who unfortunately was shut down by the stuff shirts there at Augusta National, and a spineless CBS crew that didn't back him up because the guy was great and a lot of fun.
By the way, it was Gary who discovered David as an announcer. That's a longer story for another day. Just
like I discovered Lubie. I mean, I feel the same way. I have a little McCord.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that an equivalent?
Is that something you brag about, Jeff?
John, thanks again.
We love you, John.
Can't thank you enough for joining us here on the show.
Good to talk to you always.
Thanks,
Take care.
All right. John Feinstein, ladies and gentlemen.
It is always an entertaining, interesting, and enlightening conversation when we talk with one of the more prolific authors when it comes to sports and in general. John Feinstein, again, has done radio, television, written for the Washington Post for years, and does play-by-play, does everything when it comes to sports and all types of sports. Guy that's not a big fan of Dan Snyder, and literally covered golf, been with the Golf Network, written about golf. So any sport that is to the forefront in America, John Feinstein's a guy that has dealt with it firsthand. We always love talking to him. Gave his take on the Brian Flores, Stephen Ross situation, what he thinks will actually come of it, and so much more. Thank you so much. If you want to check out a very interesting conversation we had with Megan Imbert, she was a former Washington Redskins media department person. She actually won an Emmy Award for producing and editing with the then Washington Redskins. She's a part of the suit against Dan Snyder. She's spoken with Congress, trying to bring to the forefront just how crazy things were in the then Washington Redskins, then Washington football. And it feels like Washington Commanders franchise uses the term frat house to describe the toxic culture that persisted there. If you want to check out that conversation, it should be up right now. Just Google The Defo Show. Again, we do a show Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 on the Ion channel. All you have to do is Google The Defo Show, DEFO. That conversation is explosive, as Defo has been calling it. It is very eye-opening. And I'm not going to lie, it sort of gives you an icky feeling. Check out that conversation. It was very interesting. Megan Imbert, Emmy Award-winning producer, editor with the then Washington Redskins. Again, check out that conversation. Google The Defo Show, DEFO. And you can always check us out. We do a daily podcast. Today, DJ Jazzy Jeff. Yes, that DJ Jazzy Jeff is our guest on After Hours with Defo and Lubie. Again, on the Believe Podcast Network. Just Believe.com. Search After Hours. And every day, right here. The 5 Reasons Sports Network for Defo. I am Lubie. This is The Defo Show with Lubie. Thank you to John Feinstein for joining us here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.